Can you hear us okay, Peter? All right, I suppose we can just kick off. Alrighty, well, hello everybody, and welcome to our second vegetablesWA webinar, where we're going to talk today about preparing for your annual Freshcare Audit. So my name's Joel Dinsdale, and I'm the Quality Assurance Coordinator, and I'm here with a special guest, Graham McAlpine, who is also a Freshcare trainer.
G'day everyone, good to see you along.
So thanks everybody again for coming along today, and we're just going to follow a bit of a PowerPoint presentation, but it's essentially there we go. It's going to be pretty informal, so obviously we're going to be talking about obviously what you need to do to prepare for your audit. But we'd love for you guys to obviously ask some questions and get involved. For those of you that don't know much about Freshcare, feel free to ask the basic questions. If you know a lot and you want to ask some more difficult questions, that's what we're here for. So please obviously get in contact with us. And as you can see there, there is my UBute email. And of course, if you want my contact details, check me out on vegetablesWA.com.au. We've also put up for you guys the Freshcare website. So if you do have any questions around Freshcare, it's a great website. It's really easy to use. And yeah, you guys should obviously look them up, and because there's loads of information for you guys to obviously sort of draw from when you can. So who are we? Well, look, I guess first I'm going to explain myself. So my name's Joel. Obviously, I'm the Quality Assurance Coordinator at vegetablesWA. So my position involves me obviously coming in and helping growers who have any issues with quality assurance in general. And I suppose my forte is essentially Freshcare. So as a Freshcare trainer, I myself and Graham obviously have spent a lot of time drilling into all the Freshcare requirements, and we've helped a lot of different produce growers between us. So we've got a pretty good handle on what the go is with Freshcare in terms of how to, I suppose, navigate it. So hopefully we can fill you guys in today. I suppose my background for a little bit, just a bit more information. I've spent 15 plus years in agriculture. I've done farm management in a variety of different crops, and I've also done some technical stuff in the viticulture space. So yeah, and obviously that's a picture of me. Our special guest today is Graham, and I'm going to leave Graham to talk about himself.
G'day, thanks for inviting us along, Joel, and it's good to be able to talk to you and provide a bit more information to industry players about the Freshcare program and certainly some of the intricacies of it. My role is currently with Perth NRM as the Manager of Sustainable Agriculture Programs, and I've also developed a Food Future initiative, and I've been with them since 2015. I had 20 years as a horticulture technical officer with the WA Department of Agriculture from 1980 to 2000, and since 2000 I've been working with industry stakeholders and professionals assisting growers managing and improve market access, and I've been a registered Freshcare trainer since 2002.
Brilliant, that is excellent. So look, I guess first and foremost, we really wanted to sort of drill into, I guess, the glossary of common terms. Now, one of the things we probably want to talk about is there is an extensive list of terms that we use in the space. Some of them are a bit interchangeable and confusing. So I guess our reference fallback is at the end of the code of practice in your Freshcare manual, there's a glossary of commonly used terms. So I would encourage you guys to sort of drill into that and have a look at them. But today we're just going to list 5 or 6, and I thought that we would obviously then start a bit of a dialogue around them. So I guess I'm going to throw to Graham first up and say, Graham, can you explain CB and the role of the certification body and what they do?
Yeah, in effect, Freshcare is a quality assurance program that looks at food safety as its basis, and it's one of a number of systems that exist in this space. The way the systems work is that the quality system is developed around the leading practices for the management of common food safety problems or issues within our industry, and in effect, by meeting the requirements of the code, you're able to demonstrate that you've got those food safety issues under control. Now, it's not just that the certification, the quality system exists and you do it, but we have an internationally recognised verification of that process. So it's not just you and I agreeing that you're doing a good job. We actually get a technically qualified person or persons who belong to businesses called certification bodies who come in and check to see that what we said we're doing in compliance with the code of practice is actually happening on the farm. So in fact, it verifies that your food safety system is under control, and the certification body is then enabled to supply you with a certification for the standard or the code of practice, which is Freshcare, which you then can demonstrate or show to your supply chain partners to show you're in control of your food safety risks.
Excellent, excellent. So I suppose now we should just jump in. Is everybody okay with certification body? Is there any questions there? Okie dokie, I don't think there is, so we'll just shift on. So look, for those of you who may down the track have some questions, what I would say is jump on the Freshcare website, and obviously the link we put on the previous slide, freshcare.com.au, and that has a list of all the certification bodies that are approved by Freshcare to conduct your third-party audit. So the next thing we thought we'd put up there in terms of glossary is FSQ4. Now, I suppose this one is just a shortened, abbreviated way of talking about FSQ4. But the other important thing to note in this space is that Food Safety and Quality Edition 4 is the latest version of Freshcare in the food safety space for growers and grower packers. So if you obviously fall outside of that, you need to probably look for a different food safety system. But if you're on edition 3 and you're umming and ahhing about getting to edition 4, you can no longer complete edition 3 audits. So edition 4 is the standard now. And if you need assistance to get to that point, you can either contact myself, Graham, or you can jump on the Freshcare website and contact another trainer, or complete the online training which Freshcare has developed. The next one we really like to talk about is the COP4. So that's reference to I guess the current code of practice. So at the moment, Freshcare is using edition 4. And I believe this is under review, so there may be changes to that subject to the review. But as it stands now, we're on edition 4. So everybody must keep a copy of the Code of Practice edition 4 in order to meet compliance criteria.
I think the other thing to mention there is the Code of Practice is actually all the elements that you need to complete to demonstrate that you've got your food safety and quality hazards identified and managed, but it is housed within the FSQ4 standard. And in the FSQ4 standard, you have the fact sheets, the record sheets, all the information that helps you comply with the requirements of COP4. So it is in fact a complete package that enables you to have at your fingertips all the information about what you need to know to manage the food safety risks that are relevant to your business.
Now, the next one we've got up there is Corrective Action Record, or CAR. And Graham, I'd really love for you to sort of drill into that and explain that for everybody, because we hear this all the time in the QA space, CAR. It'd be great if you could explain that, please.
I think everybody knows that when you're managing your system from day to day, not everything goes to plan. And what quality systems are about is not about everything being in order all the times, but at times there is the opportunity, or things occur where things will go astray a little bit and your system will get out of control a bit. You might miss a particular treatment, or keeping a record, or whatever, but these systems are designed so that you can correct that problem, make sure that it doesn't happen again, or put steps in place to minimise the likelihood of it's happening, bring your system back into control, and actually keep your system going. Now, the way we do that and show that we've actually got that in control is we complete a corrective action. It's a very, very simple form that says, what was the problem? How did it occur? What did you do to fix it? What are you going to do long term to make sure it won't happen again, or you'll mitigate it? Now, you then sign that off, and that becomes a record of you bringing your system back into control, and auditors love them because it shows them that your system's not perfect, and we know that, but you are capable of bringing it back into control, and you've got a record to show it.
Perfect. So I guess what are the sorts of things that we would sort of, record, Graham? Can you give us an example?
Well, if you for instance have an issue with a particular pest or disease that gets away, and you've got to use chemicals in a particular way, and according to guidelines, and say you forget to complete a record, or you forget to put in a withholding period or such thing, and you go through your internal audit, you check your records, and you find there's a record without an MRL, a withholding period entered, you can make that correction. But it's always good to actually show that as a corrective action where you've actually brought your system back up to speed and have completed that record so that your system's shown to be in control.
Okay, that's excellent. So I think we might move on to the next one, which is MRL, and I think we're going to package that in with heavy metal, or HM. And I suppose what we want to drive home this one is the requirement for Freshcare at the moment as it stands is site specific. So if you have one or two sites, obviously you need to make sure that if you're cropping both sites, you have them essentially tested for MRL. So at the end of the crop, you take some harvestable product and you put that into a NATA accredited lab for testing to make sure that obviously residue limits aren't exceeded, and it's all in the interest of maintaining food safety. You also need to concurrently do a heavy metals test for cadmium and lead, and this makes sure that any chemical, or I suppose heavy metals that do persist in the soil aren't being taken up by your produce and again ingested by our consumers. So yeah, again, it's very much site specific, but it's also customer specific. So if you're not sure what requirements you need to meet, you obviously need to meet Freshcare as a minimum, but you may also need to contact your customers to make sure that they you are ticking off on what they require. So again, this is very much a talk to your market agent, talk to your endpoint customer, find out what you need, and then go ahead and do it.
I think the other thing to be mindful of is that these systems and this verification testing is about demonstrating that your system is in control. And it's not about catching people out or whatever. It's really the only objective evidence we've got that your management of the use of chemicals and heavy metals in the ground or persistent chemicals in the soil like the OCs and the OPs are, if they're relevant to your product, being managed appropriately. And those tests actually give you that verification to show that those chemicals are present or aren't present. If they are present, that they're within the legislated acceptable limits under the National Food Standards Code.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So again, just to move on from this, I think to reiterate again, if you're not sure of these glossary of terms, you can check out at the back of your code of practice in your Freshcare manual, and you can see these glossary of terms. And obviously, if you're still in a bit of doubt, contact either myself or Graham or
Freshcare office, yeah.
And we would love to set you straight, because it's really important that you understand these things. And again, these are probably 6 of many, but again, read through it, and yeah, where you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And as you can see here, we've just got a copy of the code of practice, so that's what you should be looking for to find obviously the glossary of terms. So if you flick to the back of that document, you'll get the glossary. So when is my annual audit? So we think this is a really great question to ask. And obviously there's 2 types of audits. There is obviously a new business. So if you haven't done Freshcare before, you would be a new business, and you would obviously complete training before going to audit. And there's also existing businesses. So obviously an existing business is one that's already had Freshcare certification, and that certification has expired, and we're moving into the space where we need to be recertified again. So yeah, so I've just lost things there. Obviously with the new business, the audit must be completed while harvesting and or packing produce. So if you are just a grower and you're picking into bulk produce bins, pumpkin, potatoes, tomatoes, obviously you have no requirement to meet any of the packing requirements, because you're sending it off to an agent for processing and packing. But you must be harvesting. So the auditor will be looking to see how you handle the produce, and making sure that you're meeting all the food safety requirements and Freshcare requirements.
When you actually fill out your application form to complete Freshcare training, one of the things down the bottom of the form that it asks is the months that you actually harvest your produce in. And this is so that it's clear in the overall scheme of things that when the audit needs to be completed. So from your point of view, then you can plan to be ready for those periods. It's actually better to do it probably in the start of your harvesting period, because once you get flat out in peak period, then it becomes very difficult for you to conduct an audit. So get into your picking, say 2 to 3 weeks, and see if you can have organised to have your audit about that time.
So if you're not sure when your audit should be, and I've just lost the screen again here, obviously, and you're an existing business, you can contact the certification body, but we're also going to show you a neat trick on the next slide. And we've got an example certificate here, and as you can see here, the green arrow is just flashed up, and that obviously tells us the recertification audit date. So on this particular example business, their recertification period is October 2019. So as it stands with this certificate, this means that the business, which is vegetablesWA, is currently certified till October. So again, in September, we probably need to start thinking about getting ready and preparing for audit.
Perhaps even contacting the CB and see what availability they have.
Perfect. So obviously you need to contact the CB, as we just said, to arrange your audit. Now, obviously, if you're a new business to Freshcare, you obviously have to, give them your details so that they can arrange to enter you into the system and then obviously assign you an auditor. If you're an existing business, obviously they just want to confirm that nothing's changed, and obviously if things have changed on your scope, you need to obviously notify them so that they can make the correct adjustments and send an appropriate auditor to complete the job.
As a new business, you'll probably also be asked to demonstrate or show that you've completed the Freshcare training for the system, and that will then allow them to trigger the engagement with the CB review.
So again, we keep sort of firing back to the Freshcare website. If you are looking to engage a certification body, the list of the different certification bodies is online on the Freshcare website. So I would advise everybody to go there. If you're an existing business and you would like to think about changing certification bodies, that's okay too. Again, you just obviously need to contact the certification bodies, maybe get a price or a quote, and just make sure that you're getting essentially value for money, because as it stands, although you're the auditee, you are the client, so you need to be satisfied with the outcomes that are delivered by the certification body.
Just be mindful also, if you want to change from one certification body to another, you'll need to have closed out your corrective actions with that previous certification bodies, and then you can change.
So, Graham, would you advise shifting within the period of certification, or would you advise waiting till your certificate's expired? Or
it's probable that if you find some issues with your certification body or any aspects of the way it works with you, at least communicate with some of the others and see if you can get a better deal on the things that you're concerned about. And I'd be making those arrangements before your certification expires, so that you can maintain your currency, particularly if there's a bit of a shortage of audit dates available in relation to when your harvest period is.
So the next point that we put up here on the slide is, I guess, under existing Freshcare businesses. So this is a really, really important point. So you need to notify your certification body that you require an audit. Now, so many times we've seen it that growers don't contact the CB and they don't get an audit. So you need to take the bull by the horns and contact the certification body. If you're lucky and they contact you, that's great. Obviously you can proceed with the audit, but it's really important that you essentially step up and contact the CB, because without that, you won't be able to essentially gain recertification. So once you've contacted the business, the certification body, you should then be appointed an audit date and an auditor. From there, obviously, you can plan to make sure that things are up to speed in time for the audit. So what do we do to prepare for our annual audit? I guess point number one is we need to ensure that all our records are reviewed and up to speed. So I guess the major thing with this is make sure that the relevant people have signed off on things, making sure that you have all of the last 12 months worth of records relating to spray diaries, fertiliser, irrigation, cleaning, MRLs. Make sure that they're up to speed. So if your MRL is due for testing again, make sure you get that done prior to audit, so that essentially you can show the auditor that you're in control of your system. Point number two, so I think we've just sort of touched on that. Obviously, we need to make sure that all the testing requirements are met. So these are obviously a bit different depending on the business and the scope of I guess, the business and the crops. But essentially, you need to get an MRL and heavy metal testing done on each site. And obviously, you need to get water testing done as per the requirements under the water testing section, which is F6. So make sure that's done. Again, if you're not sure, there's a couple of ways of checking that out, and that's to refer to the code of practice, or again, you can contact either of us or Freshcare or a Freshcare trainer, and we will point you in the right direction. Number three. Now, Graham, I would like to ask you about the internal audit report. What is the purpose of this report? Is it just a thing that I have to do to tick off, or what's the purpose?
Well, I think in understanding the importance of the internal audit, first of all, we need to look at how the code of practice and the FSQ4 standard is created. And it's actually around the food safety and quality hazards or risks that have been identified in horticulture crops over many, many years and are now consolidated in this prescriptive code of practice. Now, when the external auditor comes, he goes through your manual front to back, through all of the management sections, the M sections, and then through all of the food safety sections, or the F sections, through 1 to 14, and he checks to see that you've got all of those things under control. Now, the beauty of the system is that when you're trained, you go through that start to finish, so that's how you learn the system.
Yeah.
But with the internal audit, we've actually created that also to replicate what the annual audit will do as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what the requirement is that the internal audit is completed at least once a year, and it's prior to the external audit.
Mm-hmm.
So by completing the internal audit and going through all of the elements of the code of practice and finding out the bits of your system, you're going to need to be able to show the auditor that you have completed to show compliance. You'll actually have everything ready for the annual audit. Now, the benefit of that will be if you're organised and have all those things ready, the auditor is going to be able to go through your system quickly and be on your property for the least amount of time possible and save you money. That's the most important part. It's just as important as being ready for that process, and it gives you the chance to be set up beforehand. Now, from that point of view, spending the time on completing the internal audit actually allows you to have all of those things ready. If you find some things that aren't complete when you go through your internal audit, it gives you a chance to rectify them. Freshcare have got a system where that if you can complete those within 48 hours, then you don't need to raise a corrective action. Mm-hmm. But if you find something that's been quite long term then you just raise a corrective action. And as I said previously, auditors love them because it shows them that you've got your system in control.
Okay, yeah. So, so something like a broken light globe, for example, that would be something we would, if it's out of season, we could just go ahead and fix it. Whereas if it was broken in season while we were packing, we would probably have to document that.
Yeah. If you're going like doing a pre-season start check of your shed and your packing facilities,
yep,
that's definitely where that sort of stuff would apply. If you get a breakage during the season, then that's a different ball game, and you've got a procedure for dealing with breakages in season that you raise a corrective action over.
I suppose, again, looking at point number 6 there, all documents, site, staff, equipment, facilities, etc., meets the requirements. So again, coming back to that, if you find something, you follow the internal audit report and you find something that's out of whack, you really need to make sure that you take the steps to obviously close it out and rectify the problems to make sure that you meet the requirements. So if you pick something up that's not quite right, fix it. If you don't fix it, then chances are the auditor will find it as well, and they will raise it because they're following exactly the same checklist as you. And again, it just becomes something that you have to fix at the end of the audit. So again, great planning and preparation should make for a significantly quicker and more efficient and cheaper audit. So again, it's really important to make sure that we tick off on these things. And I guess we'd love to show you here an example of the first page of the internal audit report. So you can see here up top, we've got our business name, which is Must Have Produce. And according to this record, it was completed by John Smith on the 17th of the 1st, 2019. So John's just recently done the internal audit, and yeah, you can see this is the first page. So look, Graham, I'd really like to ask you if you could just explain this this first page and the reason why we put yes, and the reason why John has written some of these comments.
Yeah. Quite often we see in the internal audit that people think that just by writing yes or no in those columns is enough to get them across the line. But when the external auditor comes, he's going to say to you, well, how can you show me that, for instance, your scope is defined by the owner or appropriate manager? So what you write in that comments or further actions section on the right-hand side is a little note to say scope of the business was completed by such and such on a particular date. Now, that shows the auditor that you've actually verified that, you've actually cited it, and from that point of view, he may very well not choose to actually look at that to see that it's current, particularly if it's been something in your system for many years. What they may ask is, has your flow chart changed? And you can say, no, I've actually checked that recently, and it still represents the crops and the processes that we have in our system. And again, it becomes a conversation that you have with the auditor about how your system's in control and that you've actually checked to see that these things are happening. So it becomes a tool for you to check your systems in control and save your time at audit.
Perfect. So now I guess we're going to move on and talk about the audit process and the closure of carts. So obviously on the day of the audit, you will agree with the auditor on an appropriate date and time. Now at the start of the audit, the auditor will come and introduce themselves and obviously clarify that the details are correct as they're written down in front of them. Then we'll jump into the audit process. So you'll need to obviously surrender your Freshcare records and all the appropriate records that relate to the Freshcare system. And obviously at some point you will have to take the auditor around to show them what it is you're doing during the harvest. And at the end of it, you will get an exit meeting. And the auditor will either tell you you've performed well or tell you you are not yet compliant. And if you're not yet compliant, you'll get a number of corrective actions, which you obviously need to close out in order to prove that you are meeting the standards. So at the end of it, probably usually a couple of days afterwards, you'll get a report, and this will formally outline the corrective actions that the auditor's raised. Using this report, it's a really great tool to figure out exactly what you need to do. So effectively, you can look at the audit question and then use the code of practice to figure out what the compliance criteria is. And then from there, you can bridge the gap. But again, if you're having problems with this, you can contact Freshcare, you can ask the auditor, or you can obviously contact myself if you're a vegetable grower, and we're more than happy to help you out.
The auditors will, there'll be a closeout time for the audit, for the corrective actions, depending on their significance. And you'll just need to make sure that you close those out and demonstrate to the auditor that those things are now in control. An example might be if you, for instance, sent your crop sample off for an MRL test prior to the audit and you haven't got the report back yet, an auditor will raise a corrective action and say that the MRL record wasn't available at the audit, but that you've agreed with the auditor that you'll forward it to them when it arrives, and the auditor will then close out the corrective action.
So, what about stuff in harvesting and packing, Graham? Would photos be adequate evidence? Videos, are they okay? Or
well, again, it comes back to what's happening on the day. An auditor will try to arrange to be there while you are packing or while you are conducting the operations. If you're harvesting spuds into a bin or whatever, they'll try to arrange to be there to see those processes in place. If they aren't, then you probably could provide a video of that occurring. The loss of that is quite often an auditor will look at a particular part of the operation that's going on and like to go and talk to the people who are doing that particular part of the process to find out their understanding of how they're managing the food safety risks. And it's probably not ideal. It's actually better for the auditor to be able to talk to you about what's happening in relation to the management of the food safety risks, and certainly they'll try to achieve that.
So once you've closed out these corrective actions, another key roadblock that we're finding out and about is payment of outstanding accounts. So the way the system works, you must pay essentially your bill with the certification body to trigger the release of your certificate. So if you've done all the things and the auditor has signed you off as certified, you won't get a certificate until you've obviously paid the bill. So this is a really important thing to do, because when it comes time to your market agent wanting your Freshcare certificate or your customer, obviously that won't occur until you've paid the bill. So it sounds silly and small, but it's actually a big roadblock for a lot of growers. So, and I suppose our lucky last point is probably the most important. So it's really important that you maintain the standards that you've set during the audit throughout your production seasons. So obviously, if you see room and scope for improvement, you should 100% step up and try and improve. But the major thing is that you don't let the standards slip. So, if it's coming to the end of the season, you still need to make sure that your staff are washing hands and cleaning up appropriately, and systems are safe and in good working order, because maintaining this obviously doesn't mitigate the risk, but it certainly makes sure that we minimise it, which is essentially what we want when I guess running a food safety system. So if you've watched this webinar and you're going, right, I need a bit more assistance, what do you do? Well, obviously West Australian vegetable growers can contact vegetablesWA, and so I'm obviously managing this project, and if you need help, go ahead and contact me. My details are on the vegetablesWA website. We also have this really wonderful resource in Truan who is available to provide language assistance for our Vietnamese friends. So if English is not your first language, that's not a problem. Many of our Vietnamese growers don't speak English, and we've got this brilliant resource in Truan who can come out and essentially translate and help growers to meet the Freshcare standards. Obviously, if you're a non-vegetable grower and you're watching this, what can you do? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. You can contact Freshcare or a Freshcare trainer like Graham or myself, and we're happy to help remotely over the phone, or we're happy to come out and visit and obviously, help you where required. The other thing you can do is see the Freshcare website and talk to the lovely, wonderful staff at Freshcare, and they will be more than happy to help. And just for your information here, we've got a picture of Truan. So yes, please, if you need help, please contact us because we're more than happy to point you in the right direction. We're also just going to upload a couple of really handy links for you guys. Again, I'm sure we've pressed them all through this webinar, but you can see vegetablesWA. There's our website there, Freshcare, and the Fresh Produce Safety Centre. Now, Graham, I thought you might like to talk just quickly about the Fresh Produce Safety Centre. Just give the guys a bit of an understanding as to what the role of the FPSC is. Okay, the Fresh Produce Safety Centre has now been in existence for 2.5, nearly 3 years. It actually evolved out of a need for there to be more information available about the real food safety issues with fresh produce, and it has come out of a collaboration, if you like, between all of the peak industry body partners, our retailers, wholesalers, and academic institutions, and is looking at the gaps in our understanding of how to manage food safety risks with horticultural or fresh produce. One of its resources is called the Guidelines for Managing Food Safety Risks in Horticulture. We started developing that in 2002, and it's in its 3rd iteration now. It's actually, you'll find it in the back of your Freshcare manual, and it is actually the basis of the elements of our Freshcare food safety elements in the FSQ4 system. In those updates that have occurred over those 3 editions, they've occurred out of more information becoming available on where food safety incidents have gone wrong for fresh produce, so that we help our industry be up to date with the latest in managing food safety risks
and staying in the game, because that's what we're here for.
Excellent. So, look, yeah, again, going back to these links, if you'd like to explore them, feel free to. And if you've got any questions, again, come back to us because we're more than happy to answer them, or I guess point you in the right direction. But look, thanks everybody today for your participation. And thanks again to Graham for joining us on this webinar, and we look forward to sort of engaging with you guys in the QA space in the future. And I think that is it. How do we go? I'll just have a quick look. Manage participants. Can you guys, I think they're all unmuted. Sam, can you hear us? Can you, do you want to test the microphone from our end?
Hello.
Oh, got you there. Peter, Bianca, can you still hear it? Are you guys still there?
I think they are, but they're muted.
Oh,